Hey everyone, I'm Robert Leonard and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and chief results leader, Jonathan Rivera.
Boom, boom, pow. You know what time it is. It's time for ResultsLeader.fm, and today I've got a treat for you. He is the host of Real Estate Investing and Millennial Investing. He's a young dude that broke free from his W-2 job, and he did it with a contrarian approach. While everybody out there is talking about 10X, he's talking about start small, start where you can, just get started. Today, Robert Leonard joins me. He's the host of Real Estate Investing and Millennial Investing, and he's a fun guy to talk to, so let's jump in. Robert, welcome to the show, brother. How's it going?
It's going very well. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, man. You ready to rock this thing?
I am ready.
All right. So the first question is an easy one. What book or books have you given most as a gift?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
A classic. Why that book?
It didn't have a massive impact on me personally, but I know it does on a lot of people. And so I give that to a lot of people because I want them to get into an investor mindset. And I think that's one of the best books to do that.
How'd you hear about that book?
I honestly don't remember. I think I probably just heard about it on the internet or social media or a podcast somewhere in college and then picked it up and read it.
All right, my man. So let's talk about everybody's favorite subject. As an entrepreneur, we all experience it. I want to know how an apparent failure has set you up for later success.
Probably the biggest failure for me was when I was going into college. I always wanted to work at a hedge fund. That was always my dream. I worked so hard to get that dream. And I applied to around 900 jobs to work at a hedge fund. Never heard back. Ended up putting it on the back burner for a little while, then ended up revisiting it and ended up making it to the final round of 2,500 people to final 3 people, ended up not getting picked, crushed me, and then put that on the back burner again, tried it again, exact same thing happened, made it down to the final 3, again, didn't get picked. And so those were the big failures that happened, but I look back on that now and I think it was a blessing because if I had ended up working at the hedge fund, I would have achieved that dream or that goal. And I probably wouldn't have continued to work so hard on my own stuff. And I probably wouldn't be an entrepreneur right now because I would have been working at a hedge fund and that's what I'd be wanting to be doing. But because that all happened, I said, well, screw those guys. I'm going to do it on my own. And I'm going to do what I would have been doing with them on my own. And I'm going to find a way to make it work. And so that's led to everything that I'm doing today.
What are you doing today?
So mainly podcasts. I do some consulting and then also invest in real estate full time.
So you went from hedge fund to investing in real estate, eh? That's one of the major lessons in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So originally I was a stock investor. I still am. I still love investing in stocks as well, but I stumbled onto real estate, didn't know I could ever become a real estate investor. And now I do that with a significant portion of my time.
Nice. So since we're talking about investments, leads perfectly into my next question for you. What would you say is the most worthwhile investment you have ever made?
Probably my first house. And that's not necessarily the right answer for everybody, but for me, it's because it brought down so many limiting beliefs that I had about real estate. I always thought you had to be a millionaire or billionaire to invest in real estate. I never thought that I could do it. I always wanted, I was interested. I thought it was something that I wanted to eventually get into, but I never thought tactically that it was something that I could do. And then I bought my first house and ended up falling into investing that way, which taught me a lot. And then it turned me on to Bigger Pockets and some other different resources that talk about thousands and thousands of investors across the US that are doing what I wanted to do. And they were no different than me. So it just wasn't necessarily the numbers or any monetary gain that I got from the house, but it was more of the mental shift that it caused me to have.
So I want to explore that. So you said you kind of fell into it. So how did you find that deal? Were you actively looking for an investment or how did that come together?
No. So what happened was when I was going into college, I was about 18 at the time. My dad sat me down and said, hey, when you graduate college, if you're still living at home, you're going to have to pay me rent. I said, okay, that's totally fair. Like, I don't think that's unreasonable by any means, but I don't want to do that. So I told him, I'm going to buy a house. As soon as I graduate college, I'm going to buy a house so that I don't have to pay you any rent. Of course, he laughed, told me I was crazy. Everybody in my family's blue collar, never made any investments in their lives. I'm first one in my family to ever go to college. So they all thought I was crazy. And my dad does own his own house now, but I think he was late 30s before he owned his first house. So me saying this at 18 thought I was crazy. Friends, family, everybody thought I was crazy. I worked really, really hard throughout college, saved up as much money as I could, paid my own way through school, and then ended up buying my first house my senior year of college. And yeah, closed on that before I walked to my graduation. Basically, what ended up happening was it was a 2-bedroom house. And I realized that I never used the second bedroom for like a couple months while I lived there. I didn't even open the door. So I said, well, I should probably do something with that. Ended up renting it out, covered about $750 of my $1,100 mortgage. I said, well, that's pretty cool. I'm living for very cheap. Then I realized I probably wasn't that smart. Somebody else had to have done this before me. So that's how I stumbled onto real estate investing. I started looking that up and I said, well, what is this? Somebody else had to do it. And that's what turned me onto the world of real estate investing and really got me to dive in.
So that house you actually bought for yourself, but then it turned into a rental. So did your journey look like moving forward? Did you buy, are you more into the rentals? Are you fixing and flipping? What's it look like?
Yeah, so I solely do rentals. I don't do any fix and flip yet. I might get into that in the future, but it's not really. I just recently left my corporate job. I was a W-2 employee up until January of this year. So flipping when you have a W-2 job, it's totally possible. A lot of people do it, but wasn't really in the cards for me. I'm not handy, so I couldn't do any of the work myself. So it wasn't something I was super interested in. That's really active. I'm looking for more passive income. And so that's why I'm more interested in rentals. I do exclusively rentals.
Single family or multifamily or mix?
I do mix. I'm typically focused on single family right now. I've built kind of a little niche that works really, really well for me. And so when I went into real estate investing, I said, I'll never do single family ever. I only want multifamily. And now all I do is single family right now. I've done multifamily in the past and I'll probably do it again in the future. But right now, all I own is single family.
Yes, sir. We're trying to liquidate all our rentals. We're on the other side of that. So I want you to think back over the last 5 years. What new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Probably just sitting down and writing every single day. I've created what I call the daily time log. And I sit down every single morning and fill out this form that I created, the daily time log, and it lists out everything that I have to do for the day. It forces me to write down something I'm thankful for every day. And then at the bottom, it's a reflection of how I did throughout the day. And so I think over the last 5 years, just doing that has probably made the biggest impact on my businesses and everything that I work on.
There's entire industries dedicated to what you just described. I mean, there's 1,001 journals. But yeah, that's super cool. And so what do you think is the biggest benefit of doing the daily time log? Yeah,
you mentioned there's an industry. That's why I created my own. I don't sell it or give it away or anything. It's just for me. And there are a lot of good ones, but I needed it specific to me. Like I needed these certain things for what I wanted. And that's why I couldn't find one that did exactly what I needed. So I created one myself. And so for me, it just keeps me focused and organized. Without it, you get distracted. Typically, I'll find something else to work on and then I'll go down that rabbit hole and I work on that for a few hours. And then I look up and it's lunchtime and I didn't get anything that was on my list done. And I know that's the stuff that I need to get done for the day. So it kind of keeps me on track and just keeps me focused on the things that I know I need to be working on.
Yeah, man. So what I hear you saying is you're taking your days and you're being intentional about what you're doing with each day. And then you're reviewing what you did that day. And then you threw in a little gratitude, right? You said there was some gratitude in there. You got to have that gratitude, man. I love that. So let's have some fun. Let's talk about bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise.
Yeah. So I think the biggest one is that real estate gurus tell people to go big on their real estate deals as early as they can. I personally think that's bad advice. I think that people should start as small as they possibly can when they are getting their first deal. And the reason I believe that is because if you buy a huge apartment building as your first deal, somehow you're able to make it happen and it goes bad, you're digging yourself a huge, huge hole. Sure, you're going to learn a lot, but your hole might be so big that you might not be able to dig yourself out of it financially. But then even more importantly, mentally, you just might be so turned off to real estate investing because of that experience that you don't want to do it anymore. So for me, I actually go the other way, and I think you should go as small as possible. You'll learn just as much. And then if you want to scale from there, go ahead. But I think you have super low risk if you can get a small deal, and it actually allows you to get started. If you wait to do a really big deal, yeah, it's possible and some people can make it happen. But a lot of times you'll end up on the sideline for years and years and years because you're waiting to do that really big deal. Whereas if you had just done something small, you could have got started and you could have started learning. And that first deal is never, ever going to make you rich, but it can teach you a lot. And there's very few people who do one real estate deal in their lives. If you do one, you typically do more than one. So I think it's important. Start small and get started.
Man, you heard it here first. Robert Leonard just said, go small or go home. Never heard that before.
Yes,
but I love
exactly.
it. I love it, man. I love that shift in perspective. So I have one more question before we move on about that. And at the time we're talking right now, at least here where I am, it seems like there are no small deals left. So give us some perspective. What do you mean when you say go small? What is a small deal?
Small is going to be different for everybody, but the way I define it is typically the cost of the mortgage. Whatever that monthly mortgage payment is, that's how I would look at it in terms of small. And everybody's going to be different. And the reason for that is because I think of it in terms of floating the property. So if you buy a property that's a rental and you're the worst landlord ever, you have no idea what you're doing, it's just going absolutely horrible, your risk is losing that property. And so if you're able to float that mortgage, if you're a W-2 employee and it's $500 a month for the mortgage, and you can float that $500 for a couple months, 6 months, however long you need to, until you can sell that property or fix what you need to fix, then you have low risk. But there's somebody else that might be able to float a $3,000 a month mortgage. That's fine. If that's small for you, then that's fine too. But think of it that way and think about, you just need to be able to make sure that you can float that property and not lose it, because that's when real estate becomes an issue. But if you can just get through the problems you're having, float the property, there's so many exit strategies. Keep your mortgage small. And that's how I tend to think about it.
That makes perfect sense. Protect your downside. That's the same in stocks, the same in real estate, the same in anything you do. Yeah, we're about to get into the fun part of the interview where we talk about results. But first, I have to ask you, what questions do you have? What thoughts do you have? What are your big takeaways from this episode? Drop them on social media. Share the show. Use hashtag ResultsLeaderFM, and I'll be out there looking for your comments, looking for your questions, looking for your encouragement. Now let's get back into the show. So now we're going to talk about what everybody's really here for, man. Why do results matter?
Results matter because anything other than results doesn't matter. So results are the thing that has to matter, right? I mean, people talk about it all the time. You know, how many times have you heard that you thought of Uber first, or you thought of Facebook first, or you thought of all these different things first? And there's so many different quotes about it, but ideas are useless. They don't count for anything. They don't have any value. It's all about action. And action leads to results. And sure, maybe you thought of Uber first, but Travis thought of it and actually implemented it, and he took action and he got the results. So action and results is what matters. And the thoughts and the ideas have no value.
It's like we primed this guy for this show. That's like our tagline. You know, ideas are useless. Execution's worshipped. Cool, man. Let's keep moving. In the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results in your business?
That you don't have to do everything yourself. I come from a world where typically I'm an accountant by trade. That's what I studied in school. So we tend to be very type A. You know, everything is organized and balanced, and that tends to lead to perfectionism, and we want to do everything ourselves. And that was very much me. And so when I started to scale my businesses, it was hard for me to kind of delegate and also let other people do things that I thought that I could do better, even though I probably really couldn't, but I thought I could. And so I was spending a lot of time on that type of stuff. I didn't realize that my time was worth more, and it was better to just hand it off to somebody else. So that's probably been the biggest thing for me.
How'd you figure it out? How did that finally take hold and you actually let go of some of those things? What happened?
I was forced to. I had so much to do. I had no time. I was working a W-2 job. I had a million other things going on, all my side hustles and businesses. There was stuff I wanted to do. I just could not get it done. And I had heard it 1,000 times. And I just said, all right, somebody else's 80% is better than my 0% because I can't do it. So I'll try it and I'll give it to somebody else. And thankfully they did well for me. And it was a good experience. And so I've just continued to grow it.
So let's turn inwards for a second. And what I'd like to know is, what area of your business would you like better results?
Probably that piece. Employees are the hardest part. I think as entrepreneurs, business owners, we're good at our craft, whatever that may be. We're good at that piece, but leadership and managing people is so hard. And that's for so many different reasons. Culture, it's for how they view the world. It's their skill set. It's what they want to work on versus what you need them to work on. There's so many different things, and it's doing very well for me right now, but there's always room for improvement. And I think that's probably where I'm putting my most focus in terms of 2021 and business goals.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. So what are some of the things you're doing? Because I'm going through something similar where I'm having to let go of some of the things I pride myself in doing. And so what are some of the things that you're letting go that you didn't want to let go of?
In terms of tasks, it's everything. I didn't want to let go of anything. So I can't give you just 1, 2, 3 things. It was everything. It doesn't matter what it was. So, but in terms of what I'm doing to get better at that, there's a book right here on my bookshelf. It's Principles by Ray Dalio. And not everybody agrees with his philosophy, but I personally like a lot of what he says. And so one of the things that I'm working on is radical transparency. And it's something that I've always believed in ever since I read his first book, that book when it first came out years and years ago. But now that I actually have employees, it's something that I'm working on. And I'm trying to get them to really practice radical transparency, because if somebody thinks something and they're feeling upset about something or they're not happy at work, by not talking about it, that doesn't change anything. And if you do talk about it, that doesn't necessarily change how you're feeling. It just gives you the opportunity for that to change. So I can't fix something if I don't know it. So I'm really just trying to get people to open up with me, tell me what's going on, whether it's good, it's bad, whatever is happening. Be radically transparent with me and we can work through whatever the issue is.
So how do you encourage that? Because you have the dynamic, and I know Ray talks about it in the book. You have the dynamic where you're supposed to be the boss and the leader, but these people don't want to let you down. So how do you give them some safe space to do that, I guess is the way to put it.
As a leader, I try to practice it myself. I think the best way to lead is by doing what you say yourself. And so for me, I'm radically transparent with them, whether it's good, it's bad, whatever the case is. If there's something going on in my personal life that I'm falling short on something I need to do, and they know it, I tell them the truth. You know, if I'm late on a task and they just give me a friendly reminder, I just tell them the truth. Hey, my son has been out of school because COVID shut down the school for a week. Like I got a lot of stuff going on personally. I haven't been able to get that done. Like I will get it back to you. And so by practicing that myself, I think it gives them a lot of confidence that they can practice it with me. And I also just reiterate to them that by suppressing how they're feeling, it's not going to fix anything. The only way we can do it better is by bringing it up. And so for me, I tell them that suppressing what they're thinking or feeling is worse than whatever they're going to tell me. So it's better to just bring it out there and let's just talk about it.
Nice. So what I want to know now is, what results are you most proud of?
I am I mean, there's a lot, both personally, professionally, but I think most recently, what I'm the most proud of is I invest in real estate exclusively long distance. So everybody, again, like buying my first house, everybody told me I was crazy. They're like, you can't buy real estate thousands of miles away from where you live. And I'm like, watch me. And I've done it, and it's been successful, and we're scaling, and it's doing really, really well. And I'm super excited and proud of that. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Man, that sounds scary to me. I got
exactly.
rentals
Everybody
right
has
in my
that
backyard. I like it, man. I like it because then it forces you to be better at systems and not having to have your hands on it. So that's powerful. Cool, man. So any parting thoughts you want to share with the results leaders out there?
Don't limit yourself and your business and your mindset to old norms. Use technology, leverage technology to improve your business. Even if you're a little bit more old school, be open-minded to new technologies that can revolutionize your business. I just mentioned I invest in real estate thousands of miles away. It's because of technology. And there's so many other ways that technology has helped my businesses. And I just highly recommend that anybody that's not already, give technology a chance to change your business.
Yeah, man. And I think, we're going to share links and everything in the show notes, but I'm pretty sure that after hearing this interview, the results leaders would like to hear more from you. So where can they find your podcast?
Yeah, so you can find my podcast just on Apple Podcasts. Just Google, or you can search my name or Millennial Investing or Real Estate 101. So the podcast has two different segments. Millennial Investing is focused on helping stock investors from ages 20 to 40. And then Real Estate 101 is all about all things real estate. So you could find the show just by searching either of those names in Apple Podcasts or any of your favorite podcast players.
Awesome, man. So, dude, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. We will be sharing links to everything in the show notes. Thanks a trillion for being here, brother.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.